fellow tea lovers. Settle in, because we've got a story. I'm Nell.
And I'm Rose, and today we're bringing you the tea.
Across eras.
Hey, welcome
Hey,
back.
what's happening?
Oh, you know, living in paradise.
Same, girl. Longest workday ever, I will say.
Gosh, yes.
Whew. Hey, but guess what? Guess what Monday is?
No idea.
First Monday in May. Fashion's biggest event. The Met Gala.
Oh, that's the day before Pretty Dress Picture Online Day. No,
Or
I know nothing about
if
the Met
you're
Gala,
me,
but it's super interesting.
Pretty dress the day of online. Yeah, so the Met Gala wasn't always the first Monday in May.
Mm-hmm.
That was something current Vogue editor-in-chief Anna Wintour put in place.
Is she still in charge? I don't
Yeah.
keep track, but yeah, it seems like she's had a very long legacy.
Definitely back quite a while ago when the documentary came out, the September issue, a documentary about that issue of Vogue. She kind of was pressing for her daughter to follow in her footsteps, but her daughter seems to have zero interest.
Yeah, I think if you grow up in that kind of environment, you don't necessarily want to repeat the cycle. I mean, some people do.
Some people do, but it doesn't seem to be her thing, so I'm pretty sure Ms. Wintour is just going to do it forever because she's the boss.
She's made the death becomes her deal.
Right?
Be on the lookout for Isabella Rossellini. She has all of the secrets.
So before the Met Gala was called the Met Gala, it was the Costume Institute benefit, and it benefited what is now the Met. That would be the, what does it stand for? Metropolitan Museum of Art. Their Costume Institute, which is part of the Met Museum now.
Is the Costume Institute still involved then? They're folded in?
Yes. It's still the biggest fundraiser. They're still involved because with the Costume Center, which is now called the Anna Wintour Costume Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, lover or hater or know nothing about her, she has huge influence on fashion.
People don't have to be liked to have impact.
I mean, that's true. Look at everything happening in the government right now.
That's just one of those eternal truths.
So, whether or not you're into fashion, like, I couldn't afford fashion if I was into it, nor am I a sample size. So, but there's that.
Fashion history is super important. That's one
that's
that's a hill I'll die on. And I'm not a fashion person. I'm sitting here in a Target t-shirt dress. And I'm perfectly happy with my life.
I'm wearing a Chris Stapleton t-shirt.
And I love it. You look gorgeous.
Thanks.
But what we wear, what we like to wear, what we feel obligated to wear says a lot about our society. The Costume Museum in Bath, the UK one, it has, I mean, it's a beautiful display all around, but it had a lot of really cool interactive displays,
neat.
Like corset try on and, things like that.
No. Hard pass.
But you learn a huge amount about people from what they wear.
That's so true. And I like fashion as art. Mm-hmm. Like there's some designers who I think are totally problematic. And even if I could afford them, I probably wouldn't. But I love looking at the outfits that come out at the gala. I get so annoyed when people don't dress on theme.
It makes me think of that story of Kiki de Montparnasse in the 1920s, taking two Schiaparelli dresses and cutting them in half and then stitching them haphazardly together like the two halves and going to a society party. That's the kind of fashion I enjoy.
Right.
And I feel like that's the kind of fashion that's very welcome at this event. So
Definitely
into it.
So originally, a fashion publicist named Eleanor Lambert, the same woman who founded New York Fashion Week, she's credited with founding what we now know as the Met Gala in 1948. Back then, it was a fundraising dinner for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's newly created Costume Institute, and tickets were $50.
And how modern is that in 1948, the Costume Institute?
I know.
That is the cutting edge. I know this represents kind of the legacy now, but...
Right? So now the Met Gala is always held at the Met, but in the past it's been held at the Waldorf Astoria or even Central Park.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, outdoor Met Gala.
I know, right?
I'd watch that.
So it wasn't until the 70s that like the big theme of the Met was a thing. So in 1972, the legendary Vogue editor Diana Vreeland, She came on as a special consultant, and in the words of my research, which I will link to on the webpage, she changed everything. So she introduced themes for the exhibitions and then eventually the outfits, making it even more like fashion forward and conceptual.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when the celebrities really started lining up to come for it, and designers were getting involved. You know, it was a time of like Cher, Jackie O, Elizabeth Taylor. And in 1974, Cher wore the sheer Bob Mackie gown that is so iconic. Roses like looking like she never desperately wished for the Bob Mackie Barbie at Christmas time in the catalog every year.
You know what's weird is I've heard of Bob Mackie, like that's not an unfamiliar name. But I'm sorry, that's
it's
about
okay.
all I've got for you.
Bob Mackie, huge back in the day, still classic. Miley Cyrus wears a lot of vintage clothes, and I don't remember where it was, but she was wearing one of his dresses and had this amazing big, like, gorgeous Tina Turner hair. Please hold while I show her Bob Mackie Barbies, because I'm dating myself by telling you that I used to see them in a catalog, but I did.
Hey, catalog flipping was an underrated pastime as a kid.
It was like the best pastime.
It's not the same thing as scrolling.
And this is the Cher dress. We'll put a picture of Cher's dress on the website as well.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
No, I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not a total cretin. I adore Vivienne Westwood.
See? She knows what's up.
I just also really love going to a thrift store and mixing those pieces. I'm more Kiki than Mackie, I guess.
I mean, I don't know where my jeans came from. They're too big, but it's fine. I like they're nice and wide-legged. And my flip-flops are Quicksilver, probably from Marshall's Chris Stapleton t-shirt.
See, and I dress really simply generally because I love my big jewelry and I like having a palette for it.
Yeah.
So it
I
doesn't
don't
take
even
a
have
lot
my
of
ears
effort.
pierced.
Oh, that's right. I forget that. I do.
Yeah, I don't.
That's why you always get earrings. I'm not complaining.
That is why she always gets earrings. It's so true. It's so true. If I see a pair of earrings I'm just like obsessed with, I'll buy them. And I'll figure out who they're perfect for.
That's the way to go.
I don't own hardly any like luxury items. I can name like 4 things that I have, and all of them were bought used.
And I'm not opposed to having really nice staple pieces. I think
like
I
our
sound
bags
differently. Yeah, no, it's what makes you happy. If that bag made you happy in that moment, then it doesn't matter if it was made out of tapestry at a craft fair or leather.
Right. So moving in, because this is just going to be a very high level of the Met Gala in general, and then we'll talk about some best moments of the Met Gala in modern times.
Which I personally appreciate. I know I'm probably alone in this, but I don't know hardly anything about it. It's just kind of like a fun little bubble that goes by once a year.
No, I get that. So when Anna Wintour took over in 95, she's credited for transforming it into this like ultra exclusive celebrity couture absolute spectacle. She shortened the guest list quite a bit. There were times when the guest list in the olden days would have up to 800 people.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it's much more limited now.
Well, I think that's part of the pivot from party to spectacle.
Exactly. So the exact number of guests at the Met Gala nowadays is dependent. It can fluctuate from year to year from, 450 and up. The guest list is curated by Anna Wintour every year. She has the final say-so in it.
So even if somebody wanted to donate $1 million to the Met but was Anna Wintour's worst enemy, I bet they'd just have to send a check in the mail.
Well, I have a story for that. So there's a story, and I believe this one was told by the woman herself, Kate Upton. I mostly just know her from, she's been on Sports Illustrated.
It's a familiar name.
Yeah, she did like an Antarctica spread for a Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. I think that is what she was very well known for. Well, she has a story about how she begged to, like, she got on her knees and wrote Anna Wintour a check to get to go to the Met Gala.
Oh, wow. But she did let her go.
She did get to go.
All right.
There's also, and this is a rumor, so everything I say is allegedly, So allegedly, when Kim Kardashian and her ex-husband got together, I don't think they were married yet. No, they weren't married yet. That he was popular in a different way at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like at that time, he was still being called a creative genius.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The line between genius and insanity is awfully permeable.
Yeah, it is. So at that time, he was a big deal still. And the rumor is that he had to beg and plead to Anna Wintour to get Kim an invite. Because just because you have an invite doesn't mean your significant other does.
Oh, not a +1 situation.
No, it's not a +1 situation. Not only do you have to basically get invited by Anna herself or approved by her, then you're expected to be dressed by a designer that's either been chosen for you or has chosen you.
Interesting. I thought the designers made the bids. I didn't realize that you could be like assigned a designer.
Yeah, you can be. Sometimes people have really good working relationships with designers, so they tend to always go with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole huge process.
Wow.
Yeah, it's wild.
That kind of makes more sense with how some people end up in some things.
Right?
That they don't seem real happy about.
Yeah. We're going to talk about some of those. So the rumor is Kanye begged and pleaded to have Kim attend, and Anna insisted that Kim wear the dress heard around the world known as the Grandma Drapes dress. And then Anna was the one who said they had to name their kid North because at that time it was a joke. Like everyone was like, Northwest, are you out of your mind? But now that we know the names of our other kids, I don't know.
North's probably feeling like the normal one.
Yeah.
That was Anna Wintour's demand?
That's the rumor. Allegedly. And so having that shortened guest list makes it even more exclusive. Mm-hmm. And it is literally so dramatic, and it's right in line with Vogue's vision. And the tables, the seating arrangements are very, very carefully put together, and you will never be sat next to your spouse.
Interesting.
Right.
That's got a whole 18th century dinner party vibe.
I know. It's exactly what it's like.
It's made to create conversation.
That's exactly what it's like. In the documentary that I watched the first Monday in May, there's somebody, they blur out his name or her name, him, I think, on the little sticky tab. But Anna's like, wait, why is he here? He said he wasn't coming. And someone's like, yeah, he was like begging and pleading to come. And she goes, well, how can we make sure he's not staring at his phone the whole time? That's not what it's about.
The guest list is not the only thing that's curated. The conversation
Everything about it
curated.
is.
The atmosphere is curated.
So the gala raises millions of dollars each year for the Institute, and it is actually the only department at the Met that funds itself.
You got to respect that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it houses over 33,000 costumes from 5 continents and 7 centuries.
Mm-hmm. It's an amazing collection.
So last year, the theme was the Garden of Time, and the exhibit was titled Sleeping Beauties, Reawakening Fashion. And they had on exhibit some garments that were so fragile and delicate, they couldn't be properly displayed on mannequins. They had to be laid in glass cases.
Oh, yeah. Fabric deterioration is one of the major problems that you have with displaying these things. Right? I think probably my favorite piece of fashion history is the beetle wing dress, which was worn by Ellen Terry to play Lady Macbeth in an 1888 production.
Oh, wow.
It's almost entirely made out of individual iridescent beetle's wings sewn on silk.
Actual real beetle's wings.
Actual real beetle's wings. It's an organic material, and so the fact that the color has been preserved, it's cool, but it also means they can never display it because it deteriorates so fast.
Wow.
They do photo sessions and like occasional tours, but it can never be on permanent display.
Wow, that's wild. So by the 2000s, the Met Gala has become an absolute like global media event. And there's themes, and sometimes the themes are super cool. One of my all-time favorites was Heavenly Bodies.
There were some really, really neat pictures that came out of that one.
There were. And then Camp in 2019, that was fun. The ones who did it well. Mm-hmm. The one, China Through the Looking Glass, that exhibit became the most visited exhibit.
I do like that it has an accompanying exhibit and it drums up visitor interest as well. That's hugely important.
Right. I wasn't a fan of this one, but again, as a poor person, I have no absolute, like, no stake in the game.
I got no skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Thank you. Karl Lagerfeld. He just, like, he didn't do it for me. He was one of those people who was like, if you're fat, you're the worst.
Ugh.
He did have a cat who he, I think, left his entire estate to.
I see doing a tribute. I can understand doing a tribute, but I don't know. I couldn't have told you what Karl Lagerfeld meant as a visual style.
Oh, well, I can, and it's all right. It's fine. At that Met Gala, Doja Cat came, like, with prosthetics dressed as his cat. I think his cat's name is Chappé.
See, no,
I'll have to look it up.
That's kind of overshooting the tribute, personally, but I don't know.
She also meowed as the answer to all of her interview questions, which that part I can respect.
At least it's on brand.
Right. Right.
She understood the assignment.
She did.
She's just an overachiever.
The China Through the Looking Glass exhibit, they had over 800,000 visitors.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And here's 2 fun facts. The most appearances at the Met Gala are Anna Wintour, obviously,
Of course.
and Sarah Jessica Parker.
I wouldn't have thought that, but that does make sense. She's kind of the fictional face of New York socialites to me.
Yes, I agree. So nowadays, the Met Gala has Anna Wintour, she's the chair, and then there are co-chairs. And the first celebrity co-chair was 1981. It was Diana Ross.
Oh,
right?
Nice.
And so here's some, like, general, like, Met Gala rules and facts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
No selfies. Literally no one follows that rule.
I actually appreciate that rule, not for the reasons that you think. You know, I don't like social media that much, but discouraging photography in active exhibits is like bedrock rules of the museum, and it's for the safety of the art.
The pictures also that do get taken, they do seem to always happen in the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
There was the big one if you, like, maybe in 2015. I almost said a few years ago, but that would be a decade ago.
A lie.
And not only was it, like, really frowned on because no pictures is the rule, but also there's a lot of celebrities just smoking their cigarettes in that bathroom selfie.
All right, I got some sympathy for that. But maybe just, I don't know, you have a singular experience unfolding in front of you, possibly experiencing it.
Right.
Might be.
The seating chart, which I touched on earlier, as someone said, it's like a chessboard. People are carefully placed to spark conversation, avoid drama, and optimize photo ops. And there's actually, I didn't know this, there's an unseen cocktail hour before any of the celebrities start walking the red carpet where they are filmed.
Just like a meet and greet. Hi, we're all in our odd things. Would you like help with your sleeve?
Depending on what I'm wearing, ma'am. Well, and a lot of times the designers, especially of, like, the more intricate in work the costume requires, the designer will walk right alongside their people they've dressed to make sure everything goes.
Oh, well, I mean, they're invested in that going well.
Yeah. And again, I don't know if this is true, but the food, everyone always says it's like, meh.
Yeah, you're not there for the food. No, half the things they put you in as a guest.
You can't even eat them.
You can't eat.
And then we have celebrities, the one and dones, who've been there once and they're like, that wasn't for me.
How interesting. I was about to say, well, what did they do?
Well, it could go both ways, right? Mm-hmm. So 2010, Tina Fey, she was calling it a jerk parade.
Probably not wrong.
Right? After Gwyneth Paltrow went in 2013, she said it was unfun and too crowded, but she did return in 2019. Mm-hmm. We also have to remember that if you say these things, you're probably not going to be invited back. In 2016, one of the singers from One Direction, Zayn Malik, attended with his then girlfriend. Goodness, what's her name? She's one of those sister models. Not Bella Hadid, the other one. Gigi.
I'm sorry. Sister Models just has this, like, offshoot of Sister Wives vibe.
I didn't mean that. With Gigi, and I think that was before they had a baby together, or maybe right after. His costume was interesting. Someone described it as robot gladiator in Versace armor. Yeah, but he told GQ he thought it was a little too indulgent and just not his thing.
And indulgent is definitely true.
Oh, yeah. 2016, Amy Schumer went, and she said it felt like punishment. She told Howard Stern that she left early, and it felt like it was a bunch of people just pretending to have a conversation.
It's the search for perceived authenticity that I think trips all of these people up is because authenticity is self-defined,
Right.
and they're all trying to fit into that authentic mold. I'm doing air quotes when nobody has defined it.
Nope. Now this one I found interesting because I know this lady has been there a few times, but in 2016, Demi Lovato said that she nearly relapsed after the Met Gala due to feeling deeply uncomfortable and out of place, and left to immediately go to an AA meeting. She also said someone was a complete B to her, and the someone has not been named, but allegedly the rumors say that it might be Nicki Minaj. But Demi Lovato has definitely been there since then, and maybe she was just going through it at that time.
Yeah.
And then we have Frank Ocean. He has been twice, and he showed up in 2021 with a robotic green baby, and it was just like weirder than Jared Leto.
And that's a stretch.
Right. Lena Dunham in 2014, she said it felt like a high school experience that she didn't enjoy, the Bustier edition. And she said she hid in the bathroom with Amy Schumer all night. And if it's the same event, and I will be the first to admit, Lena Dunham rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, not a giant fan.
There's been just a few certain things she said where I just wanted to find the scent stick. You know what I'm saying? But if I recall correctly, she was seated next to Odell Beckham Jr., football player, and she said that he was obviously judging her for being a basic unattractive woman, and it was horrible. And then he was like, what? I was really nervous and didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah, the social cues don't exist that would keep out any kind of imposter syndrome, and it's made to create imposter syndrome because the big social balls, those used to be based on unforgiving, rigorous training from childhood as to how you act in quote unquote society, and we love the trappings of that society, but we no longer have the foundations to really feel comfortable with it.
No, yeah, definitely not. And like you said, if you fell out of society back then, you weren't going to be invited. And if you fall out of Anna Wintour's blessed circle, whatever that is, then you might stop getting invites. Or even just if your fashion contract changes, if you're no longer working with a designer who's, sponsoring a big table, maybe you're not coming.
The social contract has shrunk down to the size of Anna Wintour's head.
And that is correct. That's not a dispute. The whole rumor that the book and turn movie Devil Wears Prada, that Miranda Priestley is Anna Wintour.
Oh, yeah. I always assumed that. I actually think most of my base knowledge of Anna Wintour was actually from that book.
The piece of knowledge I would really like is who in the world does Anna Wintour's face?
Yes.
It doesn't look crazy. It's not overdone.
No, I'm telling you, it's Isabella Rossellini, which is, I keep making this joke, and I think that this movie is too old to be common knowledge now, but if you haven't seen Death Becomes Her, it is amazing. I will not ruin it. But when I say that someone took the Isabella Rossellini deal, what I mean is unfair immortality.
Right. Yeah. So now I'm going to tell you about some of the current celebs who always go. They're always there. Rihanna. Right? And when Rihanna's there, she almost always nails the theme.
Yeah, she's got very good stylists.
Yeah. The people dressing her, they're doing it. Before I talk about Rihanna's iconic outfits, I would like to say rest in peace, Pope Francis. Just recently passed away. He definitely seemed like a really radical pope, and I mean that in the best way possible.
I think the faith has never had a better representative.
Agree. Rihanna, in 2018, she wore a Pope-inspired hat to go with the Heavenly Bodies theme.
I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie to you.
I liked it. You remember the big, huge yellow dress?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2015, the China Through the Looking Glass. In the documentary I watched, The First Monday in May, there's this clip where one of Anna's people, they're discussing Rihanna's performance fee because she's going to be performing at that night, the entertainment after dinner. And there's this scene where a coordinator goes, Rihanna, we can't lose her, right? We just didn't realize how expensive it was going to be.
No.
But you know what?
It's a charity. Wouldn't you think that somebody might be inclined to waive that performance fee in service of the art that they
If I had to perform in front of a whole bunch of other celebrities, imposter syndrome would rip me a new one.
Okay.
And I would be like,
good counterpoint.
That new house I'm buying on the beach in Hawaii is going to be worth it because I'm going to pay for it with cash.
I'm not sure which way I feel, but both of those are present.
Because many celebrities, like singers and performers, they go to private parties where they get paid cajillions of dollars to perform for people who are morally questionable.
Yeah, well, and it's also not a private party. It's a public institution.
It's a private party, girl.
I know. But it is a public institution in which they are all walking and private partying.
This is true. I'm trying to imagine someone being like, but it's a public institution and showing up.
Yeah, I know. Now. Doesn't make it not true.
Blake Lively, I think maybe one of her most iconic red carpet dresses for the Met Gala was in 2022. The theme was like very Americana themed. I do not remember the exact name of it. But she was wearing this like Statue of Liberty inspired dress, and it changed. It transformed on the carpet.
One.
Well, Zendaya, she's known for showing up, and someone said her vibe is fashion chameleon, which I like. In 2019 for camp, she wore a Cinderella dress, like just like in the show.
I did see
It was
that.
by Tommy Hilfiger.
Mm-hmm.
It lit up. It was amazing. Sarah Jessica Parker, mentioned her earlier.
Mm-hmm.
One of her looks that really stands out to me was 2015, China Through the Looking Glass. She had this like red fire headpiece thing with the gown. It was super cool. And of course, someone else we see a lot, Kim Kardashian, controversial, whatever. One year she wore head to toe black with a black cape. Yep, it was weird. And then in 2022, she wore Marilyn Monroe's dress. Oof. And that was a big moment.
Now, with what you're saying about how they have less autonomy over the costumes than I thought that they did, I'm like maybe 5% less mad about that whole situation. But I think when you're raising money to support the institute that's preserving historic clothing, doing basically the opposite and anti-preserving historic clothing in service of that event is just stupid.
Allegedly, there's nothing too scandalous for Kim Kardashian. And then we also have some men. Jared Leto, he's always there. I think he's weird, period. And I'm like, is he still popular? Sorry, Jared Leto. I know you're totally listening.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know why you're always there, except that you're weird. Cara Delevingne. Mm-hmm. Is that how you say her name?
I've heard Delvigny and I've heard Delevingne, and I do not know which one is correct.
Perf. She's usually got something on. Sometimes it's weird and not always.
I know she's a polarizing figure, but I've been a fan since... What's that?
Carnival?
Thank you. I've been a fan since Carnival Row. I do really appreciate how she played that part. Mm-hmm. But I think I actually just liked her character in that. You know how you graft those onto people?
She wore something a couple years ago that said, like, peg the patriarchy. That was a thing.
I loved that until I realized that she stole it from a designer that had never gotten credit for it, which just completely undercuts the point. If you're going to be subversive, come correct.
There you go. The most beautiful woman in the world, Lupita Nyong'o. Mm-hmm. She's been there quite a bit. I just live for whatever she's wearing. She can wear anything. Janelle Monáe. Whatever she's wearing, it's out there in amazing ways. I appreciate that.
There's some people that just inherently feel like they're having more fun with it.
Yes, like Billy Porter.
Yes.
He's always there. He wears like a lot of Christian Siriano. Okay, so now I would like to highlight to you some of the scandals that have happened at the Met Gala.
Well, you cannot have a gala without scandals.
Right. So, of course, there is what we just talked about, the Marilyn Monroe dress. I think something that really angered people was when she was like, I had to lose 16 pounds in 3 weeks to get in this dress. And that was before everyone knew what Ozempic was.
Okay, and you were allowed to wear that dress, so bite the bullet and just do what you have to do. You shouldn't have gotten to in the first place.
And even though Ripley's, where the dress is housed, said that this is not true, there's always been rumors of like damage happening to the dress. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
I feel
wasn't
like
there.
if that was the case, it probably would have been better advertised. But I mean, how long did the King Tut beard breaking go without people noticing?
Yep.
You know?
And something that I just thought of, I did zero research into this, but what designer was sponsoring Kim? And why did she wear Marilyn's dress? And the dress that Marilyn wore to sing happy birthday to the president with the worst voice.
See episode 1 of season 2. No, that's true, because who sponsors that? It's not like the she's being told to do that. That makes me kind of come back around and wonder if she did request it.
Right?
Because to be honest, Ripley's is not exactly the most booming property in the whole world, and they could probably be talked into more things than the Institute of Fashion itself.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And we have, the bathroom selfie controversy. The biggest problem was that people were smoking in the bathroom.
Oh, and that's just...
You can't do that.
No, you cannot. And I say this as a smoker. All right, I'll out myself. I smoke cigarettes. Don't make it other people's problem.
Yeah, I can't do that. My most favorite scandal of all times was in 2014. It has henceforth been known as the elevator fight.
I can feel the capital letters in the
Yes.
elevator fight.
Footage from the elevator security camera was released. And what did it show? It showed Beyonce, Jay-Z, and Beyonce's sister Solange in the elevator. And all of a sudden, Solange tried to beat the crust out of Jay-Z.
I do remember that footage. I didn't know that was at the Met Gala. I thought it was like a hotel.
Nope.
Huh.
And because Beyonce is one celebrity who has mastered never spilling the secrets, no one knew what that was about until she dropped the album Lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
And we learned about Becky with the good hair, who allegedly is fashion designer Rachel Roy, who was at the Met Gala after party. Okay, it was the Met Gala after party. I'm sorry, my bad. It was the after party.
It was Met Gala adjacent.
Right? Rachel Roy was at this Met Gala after party, and according to people who were there, Solange kind of got on to Jay-Z and or Rachel Roy because Roy was being too close with Jay-Z.
Mm.
I'm not surprised at all. And no shade. When Rihanna was like a pretty new superstar, I would get so tired of her being like, and then I called Jay-Z, and then he was like, you can date him, that's fine. And it was just really weird, and maybe it was supposed to be in a mentor fashion, but
It's got
after...
real Godfather vibes.
Right?
Mm.
And after everything that Lemonade brought to the table, whatever, Jay-Z.
I do love a vengeful Valkyrie of a sister, though.
So do I.
That's fantastic.
So do I. And then we have Zach Posens. So he's a designer, and in 2022, height of the Black Lives Matter movement, he decided he was going to sit it out because the event was full of elitism and it lacked inclusivity and was full of gatekeeping.
True.
Yeah, not wrong. And then there's rumors of celebs who have been permanently banned from the Met Gala. That would include our current president, Donald Trump. He did attend at times in the 80s and 90s.
Banned from everything from the Met Gala down.
And then there's always the rumor that Khloe Kardashian was banned. But a couple years ago, the whole entire Kardashian family went. And then fashion designer Tim Gunn of Project Runway fame, apparently he told a story about seeing Anna being carried down the stairs. And then he says he was uninvited afterwards.
Oh, he aired the dirty laundry.
Yep. In 2019, Miss Cara Delevingne, she was at it again. She was caught vaping inside the gala.
It's not just about bothering other people there. It's that there are things in that building that cannot handle particulates. Like, come on.
Right. One time, Lily Allen called the Met Gala a bore. She said it was full of rich people pretending to care about art. A couple of weeks ago, I was hanging out with you and your husband, and some friends were over here, and one of your friends was like, do you know what the theme is for the Met Gala? And it was Black Dandyism. And we were both kind of like, what? Well, okay. Well, here's the thing. The theme for the gala is superfine, tailoring Black style.
That was rolled in.
Spotlighting Black dandyism and its profound influence on fashion and identity.
And I want to clarify, because when you originally asked me what dandy meant. What it meant to me was like, oh yes, I'm a gentleman at leisure and I shoot 3 birds a year and my servants dress them for me. That's that kind of clothing. But then I started thinking about it more, and I feel like I've waved this book at you a bunch. It's called the Bohemian Manifesto. I love it. It's out of print. If you find a copy, just bless you, keep it forever. But it describes different types of counterculture movements, and there's a dandy section, which I think is actually probably closer to the point that they were getting at.
Okay, let's hear it.
Bohemianism as a counterculture is something that I really want to visit in more depth at a later time. But the short, and this is a book by Lauren Stover, so her beginning of the definition of the dandy bohemian is a little seedy, a little haughty, slightly shredded or threadbare. Dandies are the most polished of all bohemians, even when their clothes are tattered. The dandy aspires to old money without the money. They refuse to get with the program. They might wear only vintage clothing found in flea markets and refuse to own modern conveniences. They prefer engraved calling cards to the telephone, and when they do phone, they insist upon a rotary.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a sense of style without the leg up that getting born rich gets you.
Yeah. So one thing that's interesting about this theme also, it's the first time since 2003 when I think the theme was something along the line of men in skirts, where it's focused on men's fashion.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I do also think they get away with just suiting it up and everything.
And that is a big complaint I have about the Met Gala. If you're going to go and look lovely in a black suit, you could do that on literally any red carpet. Mm-hmm. Who cares if you get put on the worst dress list? Someone thought you were the coolest.
Yeah.
The exhibition that's going to go along with the gala, it draws inspiration from a book by Monica L. Miller. It was written in 2009, and it's called Slaves to Fashion: Black Dandyism and the Styling of Black Diasporic Identity. And the book explores how Black men have used fashion, particularly tailoring clothing, as a form of self-expression, resistance, and cultural storytelling. So the dress code is tailored for you. They're basically encouraging their guests to interpret this theme through very personalized, stylish suits.
I love that.
I need people to bring it. Giselle, I know your dress was already planned. I know it's probably a beautiful gown. Wear something else. So here's something cool. This year, of course, Anna Wintour is the host / main chair, but the Met Gala co-chairs for this year are all Black men. Pharrell, A$AP Rocky, which he's married to or has kids with Rihanna, so that makes sense. He's also quite fashionable. Sometimes I'm all, what? But he's quite fashionable. Lewis Hamilton. I know. And then actor Coleman Dumming.
Nice.
Yeah, and LeBron James will be the honorary co-chair, and this marks the first time the event is led by an all-Black male team.
That is fantastic.
Okay, here are some super fails, okay? And this is just my opinion, okay, guys? Well, part of it's my opinion. Part of it is opinion of my internet sources. Okay, 2019 camp. Kendall Jenner wore this, orange feathered Vegas showgirl Versace piece, and I didn't think it was that bad. It was fine. I can see Vegas showgirl being camp.
Yeah. All right.
Kylie, though, dressed very similarly in purple, but people seem to be okay with that. Shawn Mendes, singer. Somebody quoted his look, which was an open leather jacket and black pants, as, did he just walk out of a Zara ad? Okay, this one I will agree with. In 2022, Kylie Jenner's outfit for Gilded Glamour was by the brand Off-White, which is a great brand. I wish I owned a piece. I don't own any of their pieces yet. But she basically wore a wedding dress and a veil and a white baseball cap.
That is a choice.
And nothing about it was gilded. This was when the HBO show The Gilded Age, everyone had just watched it. We were obsessed. Mm-hmm. I don't know. She even admitted, she was like, I wasn't feeling that look.
It's a miss. Hey,
yeah.
She admitted that it was a miss in public. That's a win.
Right.
Nobody admits to being wrong.
So the year she wore the wedding dress, it was the year that the first Black designer was ever featured at a Met Gala exhibition, and it was Virgil Abloh. Of course, there was a time when Frank Ocean brought a robot baby.
Yeah, that still sounds weird as hell.
Yeah, and that was during the America theme, so I'm sure there's something that went into that, but I don't know what it was. Okay, this was in 2023, and this was really funny. Katy Perry got dragged for her outfit, and Katy Perry's being dragged for other reasons right now.
Just because you know how to book a ticket doesn't make you a pilot, babe.
But she didn't even go to the Met Gala. It was like an AI image. If I believe correctly, her mom saw the dress and was like, wait, you went?
No. That's got to be jarring.
And then, of course, nobody liked Kim's head-to-toe Balenciaga blackout outfit.
Yeah, no.
The first Black designer to be featured in a Met Gala exhibit was Virgil Abloh. And he is the founder of the fashion label Off-White, which I, again, don't own yet. I'm always on the lookout on the RealReal for pieces, even though I literally can afford nothing right now. But he also was an artistic director of Louis Vuitton's menswear line, and his exhibit was part of the In America, an anthology of fashion, which, I mean, it makes sense. Like, we've got, like, our Ralph Lauren and our Tommy Hilfiger designers as well. But his inclusion in the Met Gala, it really marked like a big step forward in recognizing the contributions that Black designers are bringing to the fashion world. The reason that his inclusion was like a huge moment in fashion history is because his influence and legacy as a Black designer in a predominantly white world of high fashion was super groundbreaking. And his exhibition included different parts of his work, like streetwear, luxury fashion, and art. And the first Black person to work at the Met Gala in an official capacity, that was, shout out, Andre Leon Talley, and he was the first Black creative director at Vogue. You know, he's not with us anymore. He was an absolute giant of a person, both in size and in fashion, and he played tennis with Anna in the September issue, and he didn't love it, and I understand that.
Wow.
Yeah. He is quite the fashionista. I always loved seeing what he was going to wear. It was always just something so amazing. So, the Met Gala, whether the theme is confusing or really controversial or just interesting, everybody's talking about it. They're going to make the same amount of money. I assume they get some kind of money because now us poor people get to watch it being streamed. Only the red carpet event part, right? And not all of it. You just, whichever camera happens to be on whichever stream you're watching.
Yeah, but somebody's getting those ad revenues.
Right, exactly. So it's a huge event. As someone who works in a job where, I was just telling someone today, isn't it great? You probably never imagined when you were young and thought, this is what I want to be when I grow up, that you would get the job and then you would have to secure your own funding.
Nobody tells you that part.
So if you're a self-funded department, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, the museum work being underfunded is like the tragic truth of the museum world. Like,
yes.
If you don't do it for the love, museum is not the career for you because it is chronically underfunded. So the fact that they're entirely self-sustaining is just wildly cool.
Right? It's super cool. So even when the theme is super controversial, like Heavenly Bodies, you know, they're still getting the attention. We're still talking about Rihanna dressed as the Pope, you know, and art always bangs up against that line of, did it go too far?
Good art is supposed to make you feel something, and sometimes that something is not comfort.
And sometimes lately creating a casual conversation can be hard, and you need to keep up the good work. And as my professor says, go cause good trouble.
Oh, I love that. Chaotic good for the win.
He's so adorable. I love him. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about the Met, and I hope you watched it or at least looked up the dresses on the internet the next day.
I'm not going to lie. I'm probably still just a dress looker-upper, but this was really interesting.
Let's hope that it's suit looker-upper.
Suit looker-upper, you're right. Oh, New Frontier. I love it.
New Frontier? All right. Don't forget, share, like, and maybe subscribe. That would be super cool. We love it.
But most of all, have a great week.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.